During the congressional hearing, Democratic Representative Jasmine Crockett, with tears in her eyes, appealed to Republicans to show some decency after an ICE agent shot and killed a woman in Minneapolis. But unfortunately, her heartfelt plea was ignored.
A child. A child has lost her mom. And y'all want to pretend.
Thank you so much. It is so hard to sit here sometimes because I didn't come to Congress to write laws or to do things that are hurting people. I'm just asking if there's any decency or heart or courage on that side of the aisle. The fact that a woman was killed, she was shot in her head, and y'all are pretending like nothing happened. I remember when Charlie Kirk got killed. Do you remember what our response was? Our response wasn't to sit there and pretend like it was okay. Is it okay because you have a badge? Because the last time I checked, allegedly no one is above the law. Can y'all not just have a little bit of courage and humanity?
A child. A child has lost her mom. And y'all want to pretend that it is okay. I am asking if there is anyone that will stand for the very people that elected us and sent us to Congress. You tell us things like, well, the immigrants are bad, and so we got to get all these bills because the immigrants are the ones that are causing the harm, they're bringing the crime. The mayor of Minneapolis told y'all to get the fuck out. Yet y'all are the ones, it is this administration that is bringing crime to their streets. That's what's happening.
It's the third incident where somebody has dropped an F-bomb in this committee, including the video.
I'm sorry.
Including the video that we had to watch earlier.
Are your princess ears okay?
Is it profanity?
But you're
princess ears
upset about my words than you are about the fact that a woman.
Are you
The House of Representatives.
The gentlelady.
Are we offending your princess ears? Are they that soft?
All members will.
Maybe some of the kids out there.
Mr. Chairman, it is the gentlelady's
You're killing
time.
them.
Kids.
It is the gentlelady's time. Let's let her have her time.
It is the gentlelady's time. Would you stop the clock for a moment? Okay, and I'll restore that. The chair will remind all members that the person controlling the time is not to be unreasonably interrupted. We would further admonish that whenever possible to express the full meaning of something, it be done so without an expletive that may be offensive to people here in the audience or those who watch us on television. I understand that a quote at times is essential, but I would admonish everyone that it has been the practice of this committee for the many years I've been here to use such things as F-bomb in order to get the message out without actually using the word. Notwithstanding that, the gentlelady will be recognized for this time plus an additional 20 seconds. The gentlelady may continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Long story short, we are sitting in judiciary and no one on that side of the aisle seems to care that this particular person, whose name we don't know at this point, became the judge, jury, and executioner. I don't know how you square that. And then we're sitting here literally in markup for a bail funds bill. When I first ran for office, it was in the midst of yet another lynching by law enforcement in Minneapolis. At that time, it was George Floyd. I remember working as a pro bono criminal defense attorney to help protesters that were being arrested. There were more than 600 protesters that were arrested in Dallas. There were churches that came together to make sure that there were bail funds. There were nonprofit organizations, and to explain how it works for bail, since we're in judiciary and we're writing the laws, and some people may not understand this, but those bail funds, those nonprofit organizations are not the ones
that determine whether or not somebody gets bail. What they do is they help out poor people, which I know y'all are not interested in either. But they help out people that aren't rich and famous and have limitless amounts of money, like all of the Epstein defendants who somehow y'all can't find, even though y'all went and got Maduro. But it helps out those people to be able to get out of jail. Many of those people that if they spend just a couple of days in jail will then be thrust into straight up poverty because they will lose everything. Why it is that you want to criminalize people such as churches that are trying to help the poor because they understand what the Bible says, and they don't just say that they understand it or say that they love Jesus, but they decide that they actually put it into works because faith without works is dead. That is wrong too. And I'm here to tell you that there's going to be a lot of nonprofit organizations that are going to step up in this moment because there are going to be protests around this entire country because of the state-sanctioned execution that we all saw unfold, unless there is some kind of justice that takes place and we get the name of that officer and that officer is prosecuted. So I ask that law enforcement, we have oversight over them. I am the oversight ranker. Let's go ahead. In fact, I make a motion that we have a hearing in the Oversight Subcommittee.
Representative Jasmine Crockett stood before a congressional committee and asked a question that honestly should never have needed asking. Why are we more outraged by profanity than by the fact that an American citizen is dead? On January 7th, 2026, Immigration and Customs Enforcement Officer Jonathan Ross shot and killed Renee Nicole Good, a 37-year-old mother of 3, through the window of her car in Minneapolis. She was a poet, a writer, a U.S. citizen, and 3 days later, members of Congress were still debating whether harsh language in a hearing was appropriate. That tells you everything about where accountability stands right now. Look, you don't need to agree on immigration policy to recognize when something has gone fundamentally wrong. This wasn't an isolated incident in a vacuum. Crockett, a civil rights attorney and ranking member of the Subcommittee on Oversight, reminded her colleagues that she knows what it looks like when the system fails people. She defended protesters arrested during the George Floyd demonstrations in Minneapolis, worked pro bono to help low-income individuals access bail, and spent years watching how quickly the machinery of justice can crush someone who can't afford to fight back. She understands that when someone with a badge becomes judge, jury, and executioner, it's not just a tragedy, it's a breakdown of the rule of law. What made the exchange in the committee hearing so unsettling wasn't just the facts of what happened in Minneapolis. It was the reaction. Crockett used profanity. Republicans immediately objected. They invoked decorum. They asked if, quote, princess ears were too delicate for strong language. They turned the focus away from Renee Nicole Good and toward the tone of the person demanding answers about her death. That distinction is not semantic. It is the dividing line between a government that holds its agents accountable and one that protects them reflexively. Against that backdrop, Crockett did what oversight is supposed to do. She demanded the name of the officer involved. She called for prosecution. She moved for a subcommittee hearing to investigate the killing. And when her colleagues recoiled at her language, she asked them directly, "Are we really more concerned with profanity than with the execution of a mother?" The answer, disturbingly, seemed to be yes. This is not about partisan divides or immigration debates. This is about whether federal agents can kill American citizens and face real consequences. It's about whether congressional oversight still functions when the stakes are life and death. And it's about whether we, as a country, are still capable of distinguishing between a breach of decorum and a breach of constitutional rights. Habeas corpus exists so that the government cannot simply detain or harm people without justification. Due process exists so that every person, regardless of who they are or what they're accused of, has the right to a fair hearing before the state takes action against them. When an ICE agent fires a weapon and kills someone, those principles don't disappear. They become more urgent. Crockett's experience as a criminal defense attorney taught her that the system doesn't self-correct. Bail funds exist because people who can't afford to pay are trapped in jail, losing jobs, housing, and custody of their children, while they wait for a trial that may be months or years away. Nonprofit organizations step in because the system itself is designed to punish poverty. And when protests erupt because yet another person has been killed by someone in uniform, the response is often to arrest the protesters, rather than address the underlying violence. That's why moments like this matter. Not because they're dramatic, but because they reveal how easily accountability can be sidelined. How quickly the conversation can shift from "why is someone dead" to "why does someone use a curse word?" Democracy doesn't collapse all at once. It erodes quietly, through misunderstandings, misstatements, and normalization of ideas that should stop us cold. When a member of Congress has to remind her colleagues that a mother's death deserves more attention than the language used to describe it, we're watching that erosion in real time. If you believe constitutional rights should apply to everyone, no matter who's in power, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. Staying informed is how accountability survives. Renee Nicole Good's name should not be forgotten. The questions Jasmine Crockett raised should not be dismissed. And the fact that a congressional hearing became more focused on tone than on justice should alarm every single person who believes that government power must be constrained by law, not by loyalty. This is not about one shooting. It's about whether oversight still means something, whether transparency still matters, whether the American people can still demand answers when someone with a badge takes a life. That's why informed citizens are the last line of defense. Because when the system fails, it doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It fails in moments like this, when a reasonable question, "Why is she dead?" gets drowned out by objections to profanity,